and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having an amazing day, because if you're having an amazing day, we are having an amazing day. Alright, as per popular request, I have brought my friend here, Totoro, for our video, right? He's going to be accompanying us during this video. Totoro's my African pygmy hedgehog. I brought him all the way to my studio, and he's not in the best of moods now because I actually woke him up. He normally wakes up at around 8 p.m. But I'm only gonna keep him here for I'm only just gonna show you in this 2 minutes. I'm only gonna be showing Totoro to you for 2 minutes. Yeah. So if you want to get straight to the video, you can just skip over to like the 4 or 5 minute mark. Okay. But yeah, this is Totoro. I'm also an exotic pet owner, so I keep a hedgehog. I have a gerbil. I used to have a snapping turtle, but I released it. It's a secret where I released it, though. So yeah. So this is Totoro. Say hi, Totoro. He's a pinto hedgehog. He's a pinto African pygmy hedgehog. Look at his color. See, he's like half white and half brown. He's got the nice. When I got him, he was like no larger than a pebble. But see now he's like he keeps eating and eating and eating. He eats like 20 or 30 worms a day. Big fella, big boy. I can't really I can't pet him too much because hedgehogs don't actually enjoy being petted like this, and they're really spiky as well. So yeah, I'm gonna put him back now. Okay, and get back to the video. Say bye. Bye. So what is a class traitor? Well, a class traitor is basically a person who betrays his or her class interests in order to serve another class. Now, if you're a socialist of any kind of persuasion, whether you're a Marxist-Leninist or a Confucian socialist like myself, you recognize that history is a series of class struggles between an oppressing class and an oppressed class, right? Now, a class traitor could be a negative type of class traitor, one who is part of the oppressed class, but who ends up siding with the oppressor class when the oppressor class gives them some concessions. Like Lenin mentions this, referring to the labor aristocracy, which means well-to-do white-collar workers who are quite affluent and doing quite well under capitalism, who in the past were sympathetic to socialism, but now simp for the bourgeoisie, right? So these people betray the interests of their own class as a collective because the bourgeoisie is filling their rice bowl. So in order to fill their own rice bowl, they will throw the rest of their class under the bus. The bourgeoisie was clever in that regard. They decided to make some concessions to a certain demographic of the proletariat, the working class, in order to, be nicer to them, pay them a little more, give in to a few of their demands, so that this group of people ends up, instead of aiming to overthrow the bourgeoisie and usher in a dictatorship of the proletariat, these people end up siding with the bourgeoisie, with their modern-day whipmasters, right? But a class traitor could also be a person from a marginalized group, right? Like a person of color, for example, who starts, bashing down on their own marginalized ethnic group. Like in America, certain people will say some really nasty, racist, orientalist things about their own race, like Asian Americans or African Americans who basically self-orientalize or basically say things that are not nice about their own race and bash down on their own race with racist rhetoric. Like, self-hating Asians who call outspoken Asian men MR Asians, or, African American reactionaries like Candace Owens, who basically side with the white establishment and do so much damage to their own communities. those are also examples of class traitors, right? And there's also a positive example of a class traitor, like Friedrich Engels, for example. Engels was born into the class of the bourgeoisie, but he chose to side with Karl Marx in order to dismantle the bourgeoisie, right? You could also say that Confucius himself was a class traitor, because Confucius was one of the elites of ancient Chinese society. Well, strictly speaking, there was no China back then. China only came about as an entity 300 years after Confucius's death. But he was one of the elites in his state of Lu. And yet he chose to fight against the three noble families, because the three noble families were abusing their power. And in the same way, the capitalists of today are abusing their power. So to me, I see a struggle against capitalism as the same as Confucius's struggle against the three noble families, right? Or Buddha's struggle against the elites of ancient India. Again, India is an artificial construct. There was no India back then, okay? But back to the point. In the global battle against feudalism, there were two types of revolutionaries. The first type of revolutionary was a hot-blooded, angry young person who trembled in indignation at the sound of every injustice, who genuinely wanted a world without oppression, a world of equality, a world of liberty, fraternity, and freedom. Wait, liberty and freedom are the same thing. Anyway, liberty, fraternity, equality. Okay. And there was the other type of revolutionary who was rebelling not because he gave a damn about the poor, starving masses, but simply because he was butthurt that he could not be a feudal lord himself. Unfortunately, in the transition phase from feudalism to democracy, this type of revolutionary, the second type of revolutionary, ended up dominating the societal order, ended up hijacking the revolution. And these people came to be known as the bourgeoisie, or the capital-owning class, or the new aristocracy. Thus, the transition phase from feudalism to capitalism was not a fight that ended up in the stamping out of oppression, but simply a management change from one oppressor to the next. But I'm not here to talk about why feudalism really was not overthrown, and how the feudal lords, or the descendants of the feudal lords, such as Tunku Abdul Rahman, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, who was a Prince of Kedah, and the British royal family, as well as people like Winston Churchill, were simply matriculated into the ranks of the bourgeoisie, sort of like a concession, if you will, between these reactionary revolutionaries and the feudal class, because these people did not want to overthrow the feudal lords, but rather they wanted to share power with them and be feudal lords themselves. I'm not here to talk about that. You can refer to my video, my other video, this one here, this thumbnail over here. I mean, this little pip over here, whose link I'll put in the description box, right? Today, we are going to talk about class traitors. So buckle in, grab yourself a drink, and enjoy yourself. And don't forget, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, yeah? If you enjoy my channel's content. So for today's video, I'll not be focusing on any other type of class traitor except proletariats who betray the class interests of the proletariat class in order to fill their own rice bowls. Now, you see, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, there were people among the French and Sinhai revolutionaries who were not fighting against the feudalists because they were upset at the oppression the feudalists subjected the common people to. No. These wealthy landowners and wealthy merchants were not upset because the feudalists were abusing their power. They were butthurt because they could not be part of the feudalist class, you see. In the same way, many people in America and the West by extension, and the East, I imagine, who call themselves Marxists, Leninists, who wear the title around themselves like a halo, in order to seem holy and righteous, do not really believe in what they preach. They are not fighting against the oppression of the bourgeoisie because of any deep sense of justice for the oppressed or downtrodden, but they're simply pissed off because they themselves don't get to rub shoulders with the bourgeoisie, and they themselves are not part of the bourgeoisie as well. Okay? So you see, I think I've mentioned this before. I've mentioned that this group of people is known as the Champagne Socialists. These people who are not real socialists. I mean, in the sense that they're only angry with the bourgeoisie because the bourgeoisie will not share their spoils with them. In the same way, the bourgeoisie was angry with the feudalists because the feudalists would not share their spoils with them. But once the feudalists agreed to, democratize and create a constitutional sort of monarchy, you see that these people ended up matriculating the feudalists into their ranks and created a new form of aristocracy altogether, right? Like in the play, an inspector calls, Mr. Burley, the bourgeoisie, for example, is basically what we describe as the new aristocracy. I'm just digressing a bit. In order to get closer to the feudalists, to the noble families, he marries his daughter off to a man from a noble family, and he earns capital in order to be seen as worthy of rubbing shoulders with the feudalists. In the same way, most American elites, I tell you, do not hate the British royal family. They aspire to be just like them, The only reason Jordan Peterson is pissed off at tyranny, or rather, the only reason Jordan Peterson speaks up for democracy is because he himself is butthurt he doesn't get to be a feudal lord. Okay? Right. Yeah, he's Canadian, but I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Anyway, it might surprise you. You might not be aware of this, but the far-right Republican reactionary Thomas Sowell was once an ardent Marxist. Now, I say ardent Marxist in loose terms, of course, because I don't think he ever believed in it in the first place, yeah? Because if you call yourself an ex-socialist, I'm very suspicious. Now, if you call yourself an ex-reactionary, that would be a little bit less suspicious, but ex-socialist just screams, it just screams opportunist, right? Okay, here's the thing. You have to remember that Sowell is also the Totoro means student, of Milton Friedman, the neoliberal thug Milton Friedman. So the apple does not fall too far from the same poison tree, mind you. But according to Sowell, he was a Marxist throughout most of his 20s, right? And it was apparently facts that made him recant his Marxist views and become a capitalist reactionary. The thing is, though, I don't think Sowell actually believed in Marxism in the first place, right? His only reason for joining up, or his only reason for calling himself a Marxist, was because he hated the rich when he was poor. But he had no love for the poor either, right? Because as soon as he got some capital, as soon as he got some proximity to capital, bye-bye Marxism. He gave up on his Marxist doctrine, right? So he was never a Marxist, right? He was never a socialist for that matter. He was just an opportunist, right? But here's the thing. Sowell is an example of what we mean by a class traitor in the sense that I'm referring to as well. When he was poor, of course he was anti-capitalism. He was pro-Marxism in inverted commas, pro-socialism. But when he got some money, you see how his alignment, his political and philosophical alignment just changed. And don't laugh at him, yeah? A lot of you Western baizuo, with reactionary tendencies, like the racist white leftists who attack me because I'm an outspoken Asian man, you fellas would also be the same as Thomas Sowell if you ever got a bit of capital. A lot of you baizuos in America are simply opportunists who are wearing the title of Marxist-Leninist, as a halo of virtuousness. But in fact, of virtue, a halo of virtue, but you don't actually believe in it yourself. You only do it because you hate the rich rather than love the poor. Because if you did believe in your doctrine, you would also know that imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism. And many of you have pretty imperialistic tendencies, especially towards non-white people, right? So fuck off. A lot of you would be in the same boat as Thomas Sowell. Not all of you, but a lot of you as well, okay? So yeah, back to the discussion, okay? We know that a certain member of the working class is comprised of would-be class traitors who would play out their brothers and sisters, betray their class interests when the bourgeoisie offers them some concessions, right? But not me. You can tempt a dog with food and a man with money, but you will never ever tame me, right? I will never ever play out my class. In fact, I've actually been asked to collab with reactionaries, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to play out my class interests. Anyway, right, you have to think, right? Today, the thing about these people is that in the past, justice used to be meted out really, really harshly to these class traitors, like the former Secretary General of the CPM, the Communist Party of Malaya, Lai Tek, Chin Peng's ex-boss, right? What happened to him? Well, Lai Tek was a triple agent. He was working for the communists, for the British, and the Japs all at the same time, right? And he had no loyalty. He was the ultimate grifter. He had no loyalty to any party because he was playing out all of them. And many of them only came to know of his treachery many years later, right? So I guess we're all united. All three groups are united in our hatred for Lai Tek. But Lai Tek, basically, when he found out that when he was exposed as a traitor to the party, he made a way to Thailand, right, from Malaya, with a lot of the party's funds, a sizable chunk of the party's funds. He ran all the way to Thailand, but unfortunately, we don't know who killed him, who had him killed, but he was liquidated in Bangkok, and the pun is actually intended because what they did to him was they put Lai Tek in a gunny sack and, they chucked him into the Chao Phraya River, Yeah, that's how we used to deal with grifters in the past, right? We used to actually give them the Lai Tek treatment, right? That was how the Communist Party of Malaya used to deal with grifters. But it also earned it a reputation for brutality, right? Because grifters and class traitors, to them, deserve no mercy, right? But here's the thing. You can't do that in a democratic, law-abiding society. You can't simply take Thomas Sowell, put him in a gunny sack, and chuck him into the Arizona River, can you? No, you can't do that because we're supposed to be civilized people here, right? But bear in mind, though, that after the revolution has been ushered in, and the dictatorship of the proletariat is now commencing, These people will not simply magically disappear. These class traitors who played out their bros and sisters and sided with the reactionaries, these people are not just going to magically disappear, although it would be nice if they actually did. But, you know, you can't just erase them. So the question I have to ask to you guys, rather, is we have to think about what we're going to do with these class traitors, because these are not what we mean by lumpen proletariat. Lumpen proletariat simply means proletariat without any class consciousness, but they're all right. You know, they have their heart in the right place, and if they were taught the proper way to think and they understood that it was in the best interest of the working class to side with socialism, they would not be the way they are, right? But class traitors are not lumpen proletariat in the sense that they're not naive, they're not ignorant, they know what they're doing, right? But after the revolution, these people are not just going to magically disappear, you know? They're still going to be here with us. All the Lytex and Thomas Sowells are still going to be with us, walking in our midst, right? So what do we do with them? That is my question for you guys, right? I'm afraid I don't have a concrete answer of what we do with them, because they've proven that they cannot be trusted anymore, right? In the same way, the bourgeoisie were the revolutionaries who played out their class interests and basically created a new form of aristocracy, right? So these class traitors are dangerous, right? This type of class traitor. I'm not talking about the Frederick Engels or Confucius type of class traitor. This group of class traitors, like Thomas Sowell or Lytec, are dangerous because they are opportunists. They're grifters. And they cannot be trusted to hold any leadership positions in the new world that we create, nor can they be trusted to represent our countries in any way, right, shape or form. Because if they were given any position of power, they would simply push back society to the old reactive ways, right? That's why I'm always very suspicious about people who call themselves conservative communists, right-wing communists, or right-wing socialists, because these people want to have their cake and eat it. And there's always a slight back door open, right, for them to push back society to the old reactive ways, right? So they haven't actually denounced their backward right-wing views, right? So that's why I'm always a bit suspicious of them. But the open class traitors who have actively denounced socialism in order to side with the reactionaries, to side with the oppressing class, these people will want to come back into our fold. But what do we do with them? That's the question, okay? All right, thank you very much, and have a good day. Answer my question in the comment section and subscribe. Thank you.